Morales, I don't think is as likely because of religious and cultural reasons, and for him being a gay man and the haram angle. I don't know if it's possible for him to get in there and touch this man for 5 rounds. Welcome to episode 2 of UFC News to Fall Asleep to, and I want to let you know right off the top, if you're concerned for me because you see me perspiring heavily, if you think I went full Chris Farley, I want to let you know it's because my dojo has no air conditioning, has no ventilation. We're not even close to the summer. Frankly, I don't know what I'm going to do when we get there. But what I do know, I guess, is a blessing in disguise, because I'll be burning calories. As I sit here talking at you, I'm going to be burning calories. I'm going to be ahead of the game. So that's okay. But also, if you did see me sweating, why are you seeing me sweating? You're doing it wrong already. You shouldn't be looking at the screen. And if you're driving right now, if you're commuting, if you're doing something, handling your business, I want to let you know, eyes off the screen, you're doing it right. And I told you last time, this is the kind of show where you never have to look at the screen. I ain't going to be putting editing. I ain't going to be putting stuff that you would ever need to watch, that you would ever have to look at, that you would ever have to put your life on the line for. There's not going to be any kind of B-roll. There's not going to be any kind of special effects or anything like that. I'm not going to do that to you. I want you to be able to enjoy it while you have to handle your business through the day. And I want to say thank you to the people that have been doing it right. I want to say thank you to the people that have been keeping me nice and warm and snuggled and nestled away warmly in their pockets as they do their laundry, as they do their landscaping, as they do their manscaping, whatever it is that you got to take care of during your day. I want to be there. It's that UFC. It's that MMA, ASMR. All right? I'm just there to whisper sweet somethings to you, to whisper sweet somethings of substance and significance to you as you try to get through your day. All right? So pull your beanie down, let your shaggy hair down so your boss can't see your earbuds, and let me talk at you. All right? I also want to say thank you for the people that have been showing up. I'm going to be responding to as many comments as I can because I like this format and I haven't been this excited about something on this channel in a long time, and I want to keep it going. So please do all the algorithm stuff. Make the algorithm fall in love with you. I want to talk about Islam Makhachev. I can't think of anything more important right now in the UFC MMA community to talk about than Islam Makhachev. And it's kind of complicated because we're getting a great deal of our news from, the human triceratops, Ali Abdelaziz. Can you let me know down below? Has anybody ever said that before? I know there's a bunch of memes and people like to make fun of the dude and crack jokes. Every time I look at him, and maybe it's because when I was little, I used to have this fascination. I thought when I grew up, I was going to be a paleontologist. But every time I see him, I think triceratops. Has anybody said that? It would be funny if Tony Ferguson said that. If Tony Ferguson coined that and now I stole that from him, that would be hilarious. But anyway, he's been making the rounds. And he's been talking about we would have had this fight, but Makhachev was asleep and I didn't want to bother him because I kind of think he has sleep apnea and it's been a thing that we've been dealing with. I don't know. It might be one of those things where how, have you heard about how the truth is stranger than fiction, that one Will Ferrell movie? There's some truth to that, that no pun intended, but I think the truth often sounds stupider than a lie, than a potential lie. I don't know how many times in my own life where I needed to say something. I was kind of backed in the corner. I was being asked a question, whether by Marilena, whether it was at work, whatever it was at school. And I'm ready to tell them what happened. And in my beanie, I'm like, this sounds so stupid, even though it's the truth, even though I know this is exactly what happened. But it's you know what? I don't think they're going to believe this. I think for the sake of everybody, I might have to make something up. And when he keeps talking about how Makhachev was asleep, I think it sounds stupid, frankly. But, maybe at the same time, we're hearing that Ilia was pulling a Jon Jones. And that he was saying, oh, yeah, I'll fight Makhachev. I'll go up and fight Makhachev. I'll fight 5 dudes in one day, like Chale Sonnen. Whatever you want me to do. But I need 2.5 billion. And it's like, what? Well, then no. And it's like, well, I offered. So it kind of seems like, okay, one of the dudes, we're hearing that, by the way, it's from his own manager. So I feel like this is the kind of thing that you would say about another dude if you were trying to make fun of him. Or if that's why I'm saying we got to keep in mind that the truth is often stranger than fiction. I kind of think maybe he was asleep. He is I don't know when Ramadan ends. But I would assume it makes you tired. Or maybe you just sleep through the whole day. That's kind of a cheat code, right? I never thought of that before. Is that doing Ramadan right? Is that kind of looked down on? Is that frowned upon? If you sleep all through the day on Ramadan, you just wake up. You just tell me, wake me up when the sun goes down. Like that's cheating, right? Wake me up after you go down. I was trying to line up the syllables in my beanie as I, in real time, but it's not edited, so sometimes you don't get perfection. But I feel like that's cheating. But anyway, that's neither here either. If he was sleeping through the day in Ramadan and then he just wakes up to eat, he very well could have been asleep. But we got one guy that, slept through the phone call, And, there's been times when I'm having an issue with my lady. And, I maybe I feel like my phone's overheating a little bit. And I feel like, maybe I should turn my phone off because I'm being frugal and I don't want my phone to overheat. I don't want to have to buy a new phone. I want to do the right, mature thing by our finances. Marilena's been trying to get me to read this book by Dave Ramsey. So I'm like, okay, I'll turn my phone off and then I'll go play Resident Evil for 6 hours. And I think I'm doing the mature thing. She comes around way later thinking I'm ignoring her calls. I say, no, I just turned off my phone because last time I got a new phone, you thought that I was being materialistic. So which is it? Which one do you want to have? You can't have it both ways. And we had, I don't even know what point I was making, but we had Makhachev who slept through the UFC phone call allegedly to take the Ilia fight. And we had Ilia saying, I'll fight him all day, but I need 2.5 billion. And talking himself, negotiating himself out of a fight. So it kind of seems like these dudes are kind of flirting with each other, and maybe neither of them really want this to transpire, or at least not yet. Either way, forget it. That's not even the main conversation right now. Now we're trying to find out who Makhachev's gonna fight, because Ilia's already fighting somebody. And again, who knows if he's telling the truth. But Ali Abdelaziz, I feel like it's easier to say Triceratops. Ali has one of those names where every time I say it out loud, I'm having to be super conscious of every part of the name. I feel like I'm going to say it wrong. Do you have names like that you say, or like words when you say them, you're heavily concentrating as you say them to make sure you say them correctly? He was also saying that if Ilia did fight Makhachev and he wasn't available for the White House, that he heard from the UFC, which, why? Why would he hear that? Well, maybe because Gaethje's his fighter. I guess he would be in that conversation. That Gaethje was going to fight Tsarukyan. But either way, Ilia's lined up right now. Now we're trying to find out Makhachev. Whatever. One of the dudes snored through the phone call. He Ferris Bueller'd the phone call. The other dude wanted too much money. Maybe they all want to wait for the right time. Let's say Ilia wins. Maybe Triceratops is banking on Ilia winning, and then his stock goes up. Makhachev beats whoever he's going to fight. His stock goes up. Now there's even more money than if Ilia and Makhachev would have fought first. So I get it. So now we got to think about who could Makhachev fight. Now, I'm going to be honest. From listening to what the Triceratops said to TMZ, I don't even know if he knows who Makhachev is fighting. Things were left kind of vague, a little bit cryptic, and he might, be in a position where he has to pretend like he knows. But I'm going to tell you what I observed. when he was talking with TMZ, he seemed almost giddy. He seemed very happy. And that immediately made me think, this might be Usman. The matchup might be Usman. I can't imagine any other instance in which Triceratops would be this happy. And of course, it's because he has two dudes that he represents fighting each other. It's double the money. It's like, and I don't even know if this is legal anymore. I think they phased this out, and I was trying to get my real estate license a while back because that's what you do when you fail at everything else in life. And I failed at that too, by the way. The test was too hard. And there's gatekeeping, man. You got to have like $5,000 to even get through. Anyway, back in the day, real estate agents, like when they both sell a house, they help their clients sell their house and then buy the house they get into. I don't know if you can monopolize like that anymore. I think they changed it. But anyway, that's kind of like what Triceratops is doing in this situation. And I'm just bringing that up because of his face, his expressions, his tone. This does not seem like something that he was talking about resentfully, begrudgingly. It seemed like something that he was enthusiastic about. And this would not surprise me. And before you start, look, I'm going to give you different options right now that I have for different reasons or different thoughts that I have on different matchups. So, this isn't going to be my narrative for, the duration of this video. But I wanted to spend some time talking about Usman because I think it is a definite possibility. I'm not saying 100%. I could see this. I got a tip off. This is happening. I'm just telling you, I watched a video today with Masvidal, and he was talking about how he is chatting with the UFC, and they sent him a text message saying, welcome home. They're bringing him back. They're negotiating with him at a high enough level that made him say, chale, to the MVP card. Apparently, he was supposed to fight Nate Diaz. And when that didn't work out, when he said no, then they got Mike Perry. It was supposed to be a tri-match. It was supposed to be their third time meeting. And Masvidal turned it down, and he's going back to the UFC. Masvidal. I think the UFC brass negotiating with Masvidal to bring him back. Like, here's something you got to consider. It's not a dude that's been in the UFC. He's been on the video game cover. He's had crazy, flash knockouts. He knows how to cut a promo, and they're just hanging on to him, letting him do his thing for dear life. This is a dude who's like seemingly, by all appearances, has been out. And we thought, he's done, right? We're never going to see him back in here. Them saying, welcome back. Let's keep you away from going to another promotion. They're courting this individual. It's not like he's just lingering and they're like, let's tie Tuivasa this dude. There's enough people that still like him. They're saying, welcome back, come back. Don't go over there. Come over here. So I don't think we could be so 100% against the idea of Usman because of inactivity, because of fighting style, because of ranking. Tell me this. How inactive has Masvidal been over the last couple years? Oh, we thought he was retired, right? That's how inactive. What's Masvidal ranked? Oh, nothing? Right. And you got the UFC saying, come, baby, come back. Jorge, come back. That's what's going on right now in the minds of the UFC. We need to get this guy back. Well, maybe they're smartening up a little bit. Maybe they're starting to realize people like what Netflix is doing. People are nostalgic. People want to see entertainment, whether it's just purely from social media, from the promos, whatever. But with this dude, fighting as well. Masvidal is an entertaining fighter. But my point is, I know there's a lot of people that are going to be very quick from every angle to shut down the possibility that this could be Usman, when look at the kind of conversation they're having with Masvidal. Think about all the up-and-comers from every there's MMA promotions popping up all over like just these little blackheads that are just inescapable, bro. They're sprouting up everywhere. There is a multitude of MMA promotions to pick from. These hungry contenders foaming at the mouth to make it to the UFC. These young people, these powerful people, explosive people, undefeated people. And they're texting Masvidal. They said, hey, Masvidal, you still got that robe? Hey, Masvidal, you still got that Scarface suit? Did you have to return it to Party City? Did you leave the tags on? Does it still fit? It don't fit anymore, right? You still fighting at 170? You still willing to weight cut? You see these dudes we have been having passing out, falling face down, prostrate on the floor, right in front, like if they're charismatics? Are you willing to do that again? He says, show me the money. And they said, oh, we got it. We got it. Because we're not giving it to anybody else. We got it for Pereira. We got it for you. Who else do they got it for? For Ilia? They don't got it for many people. But they got it for him. They didn't have it for Jon Jones. They didn't have it for Ronda Rousey. I don't want to get off track. I saw Triceratops talking to TMZ. And he seemed happy. And in his position, I would think he's happy because he's making money. And it doesn't matter what Usman is ranked or how inactive he's been. This is somebody that a lot of people consider to be, a lot of people, I'm not saying everybody, I'm not saying it's unanimous, and I'm not saying that it's a fact. I'm just saying there's a lot of people who believe that he, if not is the greatest welterweight of all time, is definitely one of them. And that this might be his Lifetime Achievement Award type of thing here. And a lot of people think that Makhachev is the greatest welterweight of all time, if not, or, one of them, if not the, which is shameful, because I'll give you my take real quick on this. I said this before, and I think it might have been during a live stream, that this era where people, they'll work their way up. Maybe they'll work their way up in the lightweight division and they'll have 5, 6, 7 fights, maybe 8. Some of them have a crazy trajectory, Charles Oliveira or whatever. They're just fighting everybody, fight after fight after fight. And then finally one day they get the strap. They become champion, And then some of them have, it's respectable enough. Some of them will have 2, 3, 4 defenses. Some of them will have 1. Some will have 0. And they just jump straight to the next division, straight into the championship fight. They didn't work their way up. They didn't fight any contenders. They just went straight to the top. And I think that's shameful. I don't think that counts. I think it's way too easy to go to the top of the next division and I'm not one of these dudes, styles make fights, chale. Go home with that. Get out of my face. If styles make fights, hey, make your style better. Get more well-rounded. I don't like this. Oh, that's a bad matchup. This would, no, I turn it down because of this and that doesn't line up and that would be a boring fight. Get better. Fix your style. Get more styles to your smorgasbord, But if it just so happens that some dude is a fantastic, world-class, unbelievable type of grappler, and he's fighting a dude that's like, I've never grappled in my life. Oh, now you're going to have 2 bouts. And that means nothing because you didn't really work to get it. So, that's my way of kind of taking down Makhachev a few pegs, I guess. But a lot of people do already act like he's the greatest. So that's an opportunity for that to happen. And there's reasons that the UFC would use that have, they will completely overlook any objections to Usman being in that position. Another angle is Morales. Would it be Morales facing Makhachev? Now, this guy's really, and they all are. Usman wants to fight. He always talks about it. Am I wrong? He talks about it all the time. Morales talks about it. Garry talks about it. Everybody wants to fight. But Morales is coming and he's going to the events and he's showing messed up looking photos of Makhachev's face and memeing on him and clowning and taunting and really trying to get his attention, really trying to get him upset. And you would think that would, lead Makhachev to really want to put a beating on him. But at the same time, talking about Makhachev, this is a dude who's, his culture, his religion, whatever you want to say, doesn't even permit him to look at a woman. He's interviewed by these different ladies before the fights, after the fights, whatever. He can't even look at them. He's staying down, looking down at his chanclas, very much aware of the fact that somebody somewhere is watching him, scoping this footage, and so he can't even look at a lady. But he's gonna go out in his chonies on live national internet. He's gonna go out there in his chonies, all lubricated. He's gonna go out there all lubed up, all shiny, all oily, and they're gonna lock the cage door with the gay man. How is that not haram? Now, I can't help but think it has to be. It has to be. Now, if they caught Makhachev in this situation and it was not, a commissioned fight, they just caught him in this type of situation out in the mountains, that's probably going to result in death. Now, in a situation like this, I don't know what the loopholes are. I don't know if maybe it's cool. Maybe they treat it as a type of, maybe in the eyes of Makhachev and Triceratops and whoever their leaders are. I don't know what the hierarchy is of that type of faith. I don't know if they got a bishop or I don't know how that works. I don't know if from their perspective, and maybe they'll somehow finagle and work it into the contract. Maybe they're we're not going to classify this as a fight. We're going to call this, legally, we're going to put the legal jargon on it. Technically, this is, as far as we're confirmed, this is conversion therapy. We're trying to help this individual. We're trying to help him make a change in his life. We're gonna beat it into him. We're gonna beat it out of him. And other than that, and I'm being absolutely if there's anybody that has any insight on this, knows the ins and outs of the culture or whatever, let me know, because I heard rumor that this was one of the hesitations that they faced early on. How in good conscience it's kind of like me. It's I do this for a living. I make videos. I come online. I got to make a living. I need to make money, but I don't want to do certain, I don't do smoking or vaping or whatever advertisements or alcohol or adult material advertise. I'm just no. So he's a fighter, right? He's got a title to defend, right? He's got things he got to do. He's got bills. And it's how could he say no to this? Well, it might be a matter of religion, of culture. So I don't know if he can take the Morales fight. The one after that is Garry. And I'm suspicious of this one. I don't think it is Garry. I could be wrong. But I currently don't think that Garry, he's definitely not received word. Because still, presently, he's going on social media. He's on this whole campaign. He's doing everything that he can to show hey, what are you guys doing? What are you waiting for? Why are you treating me like Colby Covington? Why are you treating me like Aljamain Sterling Silver? Why are you freezing me out? I want to fight. And he's posting himself out there, waiting by the phone, looking at the phone, knocking the phone down in anger. And he's just not getting the cooperation or the communication from the UFC. So it's like, he's just like super freshly posting this stuff. While you got Triceratops telling TMZ, yeah, we got this fight, we're excited, we're good to go. And so it's like, I don't think it's Garry. And there's a little bit of a storyline there. There's some stuff that you could get excited about because back in the day, you had Conor McGregor and you had Khabib Nurmagomedov. And it's like, you know, there's a lot of people, maybe for the wrong reasons, there was people that wanted that fight again, which wouldn't really make sense because that was a very definitive fight. There's no reason to see that again. It would make more sense to see Volkanovski and Diego Lopez 4 before we see McGregor and Nurmagomedov again. It would make more sense to see Merab and Sean O'Malley 5 before we see McGregor and Nurmagomedov again. But then it started becoming like, okay, what if this is like, you know, the low budget version? You know, we get the dude, and there's a couple cookie cutters. There's a couple dudes who want to be Conor McGregor. You got Ian Garry wanting to be Conor McGregor. Ilia Topuria wanting to be Conor McGregor. And then you got the Kirkland brand, Makhachev of Nurmagomedov. So it's like, okay, you had these two, now you got these two. We're going to have to settle for this. We're going to have to settle. That's the best we got. Take it or leave it. And it's like, you still got the dude. Gary's always been outspoken about it, that McGregor was like his hero. He wants to be like him. He wants to represent for the country and all that. Of course, Makhachev has his relationship with Khabib. And then there's the whole cultural thing, like, and they make fun of it. And I'm going to be honest, I'm not going to pretend like I know a whole bunch about Makhachev's personal life. You know, there's not, and I respect that. You know, frankly, I think in our Western culture, I think people are a little too open and immodest with certain things. You know, like over here in the Americas, you know, you'll have a dude that goes to the beach with his lady, and you have kids out there, you know, throwing frisbees. And, you know, sooner or later, you know, those frisbees are going to get cut. They're going to get caught in that lady's butt cheeks, you know, because all these ladies are walking around naked. You know, there's like modesty's not even a thing anymore, bro. They're going to get mad at that kid for rolling up and trying to get his disc back. And you can't be acting like that. You can't have it both ways. And then you got the dudes over there on the other side of the world, and they're saying, hey, cover up. I don't care if it's July. So there's a whole, I don't know how many, so we don't see his wife. You know, in America, we see a little bit too much of somebody's wife. You know what I'm saying? And then over there, we don't even see his wife. We don't even know what she look. I don't even know if Makhachev knows what his wife looks like. And then a lot of people say that they got more than one wife, that he has several wives, which is ironic because Ian Garry's wife has several husbands. So it's like, okay, it's kind of starting to formulate. I kind of see they're like mirroring each other in a way, in much different ways from different parts of the world. But it's like, I could see this come together. There's a decent enough storyline. I think it would be easier to make that fight than it would be to make the Morales one because of what they have to overcome. But I don't think that it's Garry because of the way that he's acting right now. And because he's not getting the phone call. Now, it kind of reminds me of back in the day when I'd be like waiting for some chick to call me or whatever. And I'm like, bro, why hasn't the phone rang? And then I realized that my stupid sister was over there and she was on the phone. So then when all those girls were probably trying to call me, they were hearing a ding, 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 ding. So I was like, hey, stupid, get off the phone. I probably got people trying to call me. So I'm wondering if Garry's sitting around waiting for the phone call from the UFC, but his lady is on the phone with one of her other husbands, and then the UFC is getting a bam, bam, bam. So maybe it's something like that. Maybe it was up. Maybe he'll find out at the last second, like they told Gaethje, hey, all of a sudden we need you, bro. We need you. Could you cut the weight real quick? So maybe it's one of those, but I'm just saying as of right now, from all appearances, doesn't seem like it's Garry. Now, after that, we have kind of a half and half. So Garry and Makhachev would be the step below McGregor and Khabib. But what if it's Conor? What if they were keeping Conor on the back burner? What if they were saying, hey, Conor, you know how we've always given you what you wanted? And, you know, you're kind of acting up right now. You're kind of creating a ruckus, and you're kind of acting like Ronda right now. Okay, bro? I didn't really want to, but you made me say it. You're kind of acting like Ronda right now. Could you chill out? Because listen, bro, I know you thought it would be a big deal to fight at the White House, but why do we do it? Why do we do it, dude? Do you do it for the bout, for the legacy, for the lights? It's for money, right? That's why people get a job. That's why people go out and they learn a trade. And that's why you wanted to come to the UFC. It's to make money, right? Okay, listen. We don't have, the White House is making us bankrupt. You know how like the White House has been doing for decades and decades, just bankrupting their people? That's what it's doing to the UFC right now. It's bankrupting us now. So no one's even going to make money from the White House. No one's even you want to make money? Okay, I got a surprise for you. Remember what Khabib did to you? What if you had a chance for the get back, right? But this time, you actually have you still don't have a chance, but you have way more of a chance than you did against Khabib, right? Am I right? So listen, what if you get to run that back, okay? You get to make money because we actually have a budget for this one. And then Khabib's going to be over there in the corner. So let's say after Makhachev chokes you out or whatever, you could do what Khabib did last time. Now you could hop the cage. After you get choked out, you could hop the cage and you could fly like an eagle. Now you could do the same thing to Khabib. And then Khabib could do like Bruce Lee did in The Big Boss, where he made a promise to his mom that he would never fight. And then he would keep looking at his necklace, and every time he wanted to fight, and he would go, oh, dang it. And he'd look at his necklace and be like, sorry, I can't fight. And then his cousin would have to do all the fighting. But then when the chain rips, he's like, oh, that was symbolic of the promise. Like, the promise is broken. I guess I could fight now. Have you seen The Big Boss? It would make a lot more sense if you've seen The Big Boss. So I feel like that would give Conor McGregor the opportunity to not just come back, because I've said it before, Conor McGregor cannot just come back and fight Sean Brady. Conor McGregor can't just come back and fight Saint Denis. You know, maybe some of these guys are doing good for themselves. Maybe they're climbing. Maybe they're getting more well-rounded as time goes on. Maybe they're getting some impressive finishes. But it's Conor McGregor that we're talking about. If Conor McGregor's going to come back, he needs to fight somebody that makes sense. He needs to fight somebody that's, when they read the title, they're not going to go, huh? When they read the YouTube, title prediction, when they read it on Paramount, what? Does that say Conor McGregor versus Beneil Dariush? What? It needs to make sense. Conor McGregor and Makhachev, name-wise, make sense. Now, listen, don't hurt yourself overthinking it, okay? Don't exhaust yourself. Stop. You have to get to the place where the UFC itself has gotten, because you're going against the grain. You got to stop thinking about the rankings, or as we affectionately refer to them in the UFC community as the UFC prankings. You got to stop thinking about that. You got to stop thinking about activity versus non-activity. You got to stop thinking about MMA math. You got to stop thinking about styles make fights. You got to stop thinking about matchups. It's all about big names. It's all about entertainment. Now, did the UFC already sell out in a sense, which I go back and forth on? How can you blame them? I gave this example the other day on my new half show with Moss from the MMA Holes. It's called the Moss and Jesse Show, which if you haven't already gone and subscribed, what's the matter with you? But I was talking about it. If I started a lemonade stand, is somebody going to hold it against me when it gets super big and successful and I go and sell it off so I could make some money and enjoy my life and go on vacation? That's what you do. That's the trajectory. Do you get that big and successful to still just live in struggle? And maybe you could make the argument, well, the UFC wasn't struggling. What are you talking about? Multi-million, billion-dollar, whatever. Well, you got to consider this. And, I don't know all the ins and outs of it. I'm not in the board meetings, but I'm saying they also spend a lot of money. It's kind of like Mr. Beast, how he's always talking about how he actually has no money. And I know that sounds stupid, and it kind of makes me sick to hear him say that because it's like, shut your mouth, bro. You could go buy McDonald's if you wanted to. But he says this thing where it's like pretty much everything that comes in, he spends to make more content. It's a terrible business model. I mean, from the outside looking in, it looks like, I wish I was Mr. Beast, and it looks all successful and everything. But he's like, you know how they say like house poor? Where like you get this big old mansion, it looks nice from the outside, but now you can't even get a pizza, So he says he keeps everybody that he pays and all the stuff he does for marketing and advertising, his business. He says, I don't keep anything. I don't have any money. Which, again, shut your mouth. He does have money. But you know what I mean? It's the same thing with the UFC. Think about everything that they have to pay for, all the stuff that they pay out, even though should the fighters be making more? Yes, but maybe in their eyes, and obviously they're out of touch and they have a different lifestyle than we do. But maybe from their position, it's like, yeah, man, we need this payout. We need to get to this level and get this, this money from Paramount. So they get it, and it's easy to be like, well, they don't got to do anything anymore. They already, they already got the cow, they don't got to impress anymore. They don't got to woo us anymore, But you know who they do have to woo? Because they've made certain promises to Paramount. They need to keep seeing people coming in. Now, as far as the fans are confirmed, there's this sense in which, hey, we're not even doing pay-per-views anymore. You either get the thing for $8.99 or you don't, whatever, take it or leave it. The numbered events they're not as significant anymore. But what they do need to show to Paramount is they still have that flow coming in. And you're going to do that with big names. Now, how as fans, think about this before you turn into a hypocrite. Because listen, I care about you. And I don't want you to be a hypocrite. So let me help you think this through, okay? How come there's always people out there saying and complaining, well, the UFC doesn't have stars anymore. They don't want to make stars. They don't want people to have power anymore like Conor McGregor or even like Jon Jones. They don't want that to happen. Conor McGregor ruined things and showed them that they don't ever want to do that again. So they're pretty much anti-making stars now. And that's boring because we need stars. We need people to look forward to. Every sport is like that. That's why you watch sports, because there's those 2 or 3 stars on your favorite team. That's why you want to go to the event and watch them in person, because you want to see those dudes that you root for, that you see. It's about the people. It's about the characters. It's about the connection. We need more stars. But then when the UFC's like, let's make a star matchup, people are like, boo, what about the contenders? What about the purity of the sport? Dude, hey, Luke Thomas, you can't have it both ways. Which is it? Because and the reason I'm already like preemptively defending this is because I know about the MMA Puritans out there that go hard. And I said this in the last video, in the first video. The last will be first and the first shall be last, episode 1. I said that there's a lot of people who were anti the White House event. They were like, that's stupid. It's going to ruin the sport. But now when the list came out, this terrible list, which is it should have been way better. Now they're like, oh, it's the best. It's amazing. You guys are casuals if you don't understand. It's like, dude, people are just always so preoccupied with just making sure they're on the right side of the argument that they won't even audit that argument to make sure it's logical and not hypocritical. They're just so short-sighted. I'm not saying that I want and that I hope that it'll be Conor McGregor versus Makhachev. I'm just saying that I would understand it because of the built-in history. Now, if it was Garry, if you're the UFC, you're kind of hoping to recreate something similar. You know, I can't even say 2.0. It's kind of like the movie Grease. Because I feel like when you say 2.0, it makes it sound like the new thing's better. I'll say it's like Grease Part 2, where they did it, but it wasn't like not even close to as good. But it is the sequel. You know, it is the squeakquel. No disrespect, because the squeakquel, the Alvin and the Chipmunks, the squeakquel, I don't want to give the wrong idea. That was a fantastic movie. It was a film. Another option is Arman Tsarukyan, which I don't know if anybody is considering. I haven't heard anybody talk about that. And I think it would be, at least in the eyes of the UFC, because they've decided to hate Arman Tsarukyan. And a lot of the things they do, you know, it has a certain intent behind it, but maybe the execution is off. For example, it's like they thought they were hurting Arman Tsarukyan by keeping him away, by not giving him his shot, by pushing him further and further back. And what did he do with that? He went on his world tour. He got everybody he was out there like, you know, like One Direction. He's out there like these K-pop groups. He's out there making the rounds, making the world tour, getting all these ladies to scream, all these people to fall in love with him. Everyone except the family that he left behind back home. And it's like all of a sudden, way more people know him. Way more people love him. Way more people root for him than if he would have just kept fighting. Than if the UFC would have just given him the shots that he deserved. He ended up doing better for himself. He took the ball and he ran with it. And he ended up turning it into something that the UFC couldn't even have done for him. And what he's done for himself, it actually backfired on the UFC, because the way the UFC is now, which is the way a lot of companies are, that's like how record labels are now. That's how like movie and like production companies and studios are now. It's like they want people to build their own following on social media. You be your own agent. You build yourself up. You get yourself fame. Then we'll work with you. So the UFC is very much like that now, because again, I keep reminding people, it's an entertainment company now. Like quite literally and quite legally, it's an entertainment company. So Dana White and the UFC dudes very much want people to come in with the audience. People who know how to work their social media. People who are cutting promos. People who are playing the game. And they wanted to diss and push back Arman Tsarukyan. And he's like, okay, cool. And he took that time to do exactly what the UFC is always wanting people to do. And he did it so well. He did it to perfection. And then you just have the UFC like, because that's what they want. That's exactly what they want. But they gotta. It's kind of like when my lady says something funny, and I try to act like that wasn't funny, and inside I'm like, dang it, that was funny, but I don't want to give it up. You know, I don't know why. I don't know, dudes. Like, are you like that? I don't know why some dudes are like that. Like, it's hard to give it up. You know, like I know she wants me to laugh, but I'm just trying real hard not to crack. You know. But that's exactly what happened. He did it for himself. And the UFC, I mean, from their perspective, another thing that they could do is, let's say they really don't like him and they want to do what they think is the worst thing for his career. But from some people's perspective, would look like an opportunity. So maybe the UFC would think, we could probably get away with this. It won't be that obvious. What if the UFC fed Tsarukyan to Makhachev as a punishment? And they think, you know what? A lot of people, a lot of Tsarukyan fans will be like, heck yeah. They gave him his shot. And it's against this dude who he should be able to run it back against, who will really skyrocket him, who will be, more of a victory for him than Ilia, at least in the eyes of a lot of people. Yeah, this is the fight. But the UFC's like, we're leading the lamb to the slaughter. And that might be, that might be their most genius move of all. Because it's been real easy to poke fun at them. It's been easy to be like, you guys are idiots. Because all you did was make a martyr out of him. All you did was make everybody love him even more. And give him the space to build something for himself. To reinvent himself. And to do all of this without your help. He's not like this UFC manufactured thing. He's Tsarukyan manufactured. He said he don't even got his daddy's money anymore. But I have to say, as dumb as the UFC was to mistreat him the way that they did over all these months, I think it would be brilliant. I think it would be genius for them to feed him to Makhachev. Because for all the people rooting for Tsarukyan, and for Tsarukyan himself, it would probably feel like, dang, okay, I guess I earned my shot. But what it would really be is a public execution. And that would make me sad because, I like I said not that long ago, I think on a live stream, I've been getting a little bit, I've been experiencing a little bit of Tsarukyan fatigue. I've been a fan, but he kind of got to this phase, kind of like Charles Oliveira did when he got into his Gucci phase, like the new teeth and the Gucci and all that. I feel like he started feeling himself a little bit too much. And he started, you know how people act when they start to feel like I'm cute, I'm charming, and they just start to feel like they could do or say or act any way. Especially like when he gets around Nina Drama, it's a little cringy. But I still like the dude enough. But I think that's a possibility. So again, to reiterate, I think based on seeing the Triceratops chatting it up with TMZ, I think there's a real strong chance that it's Usman. And I think the MMA community is going to revolt. But I think that's what it's looking like right now based on his everything about his face and his body language. Morales, I don't think is as likely because of religious and cultural reasons, and for him being a gay man and the haram angle. I don't know if it's possible for him to get in there and touch this man for 5 rounds. Unless he comes in there with some kind of a chi master and he's able to knock him out without having to touch him. It's not looking good. Garry, I don't think it looks good because Gary's like, hey, and again, maybe it's because his lady's been tying up the phone line. Maybe they're sending a snail mail. I don't know. But Garry, even up to this point in time, he's posting on social media, hey, I haven't heard anything. I don't know what's going on. Conor McGregor, I think that one is possible. The UFC has very much gotten into names lately. Nostalgia. We got Tsarukyan. I think that one's very possible because he's looking all over. He's willing to go down and fight Volkanovski. You don't think he's happy to just eat a little bit more camel and go up instead of having to starve himself and go down? I think that's very likely. Now, if I had to say, I would think that it would either be Usman or Conor because Triceratops would be very happy for another dude he represents to also make some money, but he would also be very excited for that red choni night. So I think, I don't know how many more days it's going to be till it's definitive, till it's made public, but that's where I'm leaning right now. As far as Makhachev's hand being broken, I know a lot of people, is it not? I don't know how much. I mean, it doesn't sound good because we're hearing his hand was injured. I don't know if I should say broken. It was some kind of injury. It wasn't 100%. But now, oh yeah, it was because he was asleep. So, maybe something lost in translation. To be honest, I don't think, and I'm not trying to make this racial, I don't think that English is Triceratops' first language. So maybe something was lost in translation. Maybe he was trying to say that when the UFC called Makhachev, he had laid down on his hand the wrong way. Maybe his hand fell asleep. I don't know. I'm just trying to be positive and trying to assume that nobody was lying. And I'm trying to piece it together. What could he have possibly meant? But it doesn't matter because Ilia is fighting Gaethje now. I also I want to mention one thing that it's not going to take long. And, I want to round these out to about an hour without milking anything. I don't want to do that. If I ever have a little bit of minutes left, I want to actually talk about something. So I want to take this time to mention something before it happens, because I'm going to be so upset if this happens before I've been able to talk about it. I've been meaning to talk about it for 2 weeks now, and I haven't. Gable Steveson. We all know by this point that he's being considered Jon Jones' protege. And I don't even know if that was on purpose, because I feel Gable Steveson was already his own man. He was already in the Olympics. He's already in football. He's doing this stuff all on his own. Doesn't look like he needs any help. He's already finding success here and there. So I think that Jones was someone that he kind of just trained with, and okay, he trains with different people. Just like you see Jon Jones he would be training at Jackson Wink, but then you'd also see him training with Henry Cejudo, and you see him training with whoever else. Brendan Schaub, he even trained with. So, people do that. They move around a little bit. But then it started to get into this bromance where it's he's Jones's protege, Jones is his mentor, and then Joe Rogan gave the cosign. He's heck yeah, blasted it for the world. And I feel in one fell swoop, whatever it was before that, I feel when that came on Joe Rogan, then it was a thing. Everybody's oh snap, these two dudes, this is a duo, Jon Jones and Gable. This is a big thing now. And I feel that's what really put it on the map. So what I've been wanting to say is, there's been a lot of chatter about Gable Steveson, and what are they waiting for? What is he going to do? Where is he going to go? Who's dragging their feet? Is it Hunter Campbell? Is it Dana White? Is it Gable Steveson? How is this possible? What more do you need to see? Does he not have enough followers on TikTok? What's the holdup? Well, I think I know what it is. I think it's Jon Jones. Now, how can you be Gable Steveson and have Jon Jones as your mentor and see everything that Jon Jones is going through lately with it? And this has nothing to do with how you feel about Jon Jones. I don't like him. He's a bad guy. He's not the GOAT. Well, none of that matters in this situation. So don't get distracted. If Gable Steveson has decided for whatever reason, that guy's my mentor. If he believes, I don't. If he believes this guy's the GOAT, I want to align myself with this guy. With everything that's going on with Jon Jones lately in the news, with the UFC, with Dana White, with their relationship, how in the world would Steveson feel confident about doing business with Dana White in the UFC? You gotta believe that at the moment, Jon Jones is very much in Gable's ear in an informational way. He's very much letting him know, this has been my experience. I haven't been, bro, he's got to be telling Gable as his, I mean, I remember when I was in school and they had like these counselors and stuff, and they would try to be telling you about college and, you know, what you got to do for your future and how you got to build your future and how you got to make, you know, the right choices so you could be successful in life. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, bro, you're telling me? You're the one sitting here as a school counselor talking to me. How come you didn't do this yourself? Anyway, I know that dude didn't want to be here. That dude wanted to be a baseball player. He wanted to be a San Francisco Giant. I know. And now he's here. He's sitting right here talking to a sophomore. And I saw him a few years later. I delivered a pizza to him. And he was no longer a counselor. I think his life took a turn, and now I kind of feel bad about talking papas about him, you know. Prayers out to the homie. But you would think that Jon Jones is talking to Gable and being like, hey, fool, hey, you want to get into fighting, right? Like, that's what you're already doing? Okay, yes. Why do you want to do that? Because unless you're a psychopath, because dudes that get into fighting and they just are thinking, I want to be the champion. I want legacy. I want to be known as the best fighter ever. I want people to know my name. People that get into fighting for that, they're psychopaths. And maybe it's not their fault. People that get into fighting for that, they probably didn't get paid enough attention to when they were little. They're insecure. They were neglected. They're looking to fill something that was never filled. And they want that validation from the people. They want people to notice them. They want people to praise them. They want to feel loved. They want to know that they're the big bad guy. Maybe they got picked on. Whatever it is. Now, most people, normal people, first of all, you know, we watch it, we're fans and stuff, but to be very honest, you're not a normal person if you choose the life of a professional fighter. However, fighters that aren't pure 100% psychopaths and are just looking for validation, it's a job, right? You're doing it to make money. So Jon Jones would tell Gable, hey fool, you know, why does a dentist become a dentist? Why does a architect become an architect? Why does a PE teacher become a PE teacher? Why does the lady that sits in that desk at the bank that I don't even know what the heck she does, because I've been to the bank 8,000 times in my life and I've never sat at that desk, you know, why does she do that? It's a job. It's to make money, right? Hey, Gable, don't do it at the UFC. You can make more money in so many other places. So many other. Hey, Gable, you know Paddy Pimblett made more money at Cage Warriors than he did at the UFC? Yeah. Do you know that I could make more money if I go fight at Netflix than in UFC? Yeah, you know why Ronda and Gina is at Netflix? Because they make more money than the UFC. You know why Nate why he's on that card? Makes more money than the... Hey, you know why Francis Nganou's over there? UFC didn't want to pay. Like, bro, he's going to be telling Gable all these things. Gable I just saw a video before recording this. He just signed a multi-fight deal with RAF. They're going to be paying him money. Gable Stevenson's probably going to end up on Netflix. He might end up on Eddie Hearn's new MMA promotion. He might stay at RAF. He might say, hey, I already tested myself in the ring. I know I could knock people out. I proved it to myself. I could make way, way, way more just wrestling and not even getting punched and kicked in the head. I'll probably do that. So I just wanted to put that out there before it became a thing, because I was going to be very upset if I woke up one morning and saw on the news that Gable Steveson came out and said this and spoke against the UFC because of this and that, and because his mentor Jon Jones put him in the right direction. And I don't want to be like, oh yeah, I was going to say that. I believe 100% that's going to happen. I don't think there's any way Gable Steveson goes to the UFC after feeling like his mentor has been so heavily disrespected for so long. It would make no sense. And it would cause a rift between him and his mentor. It wouldn't make sense from any angle whatsoever. I want to say thank you very much for being here and listening. for letting me talk at you, for letting me help you get through your day. That's what this is meant for that background noise as you live your life. Please consider helping me out by doing the algorithm stuff, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing, all that kind of stuff, hyping. It goes a long way and it makes YouTube love me. Thank you for listening, and I'll talk at you again next week.